It's that time again for the assault on your ears we call Lower Dorks, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast. I'm Aaron, and with me as always is Stavros. So, Stavros, what we got on the agenda for tonight?
Let's talk about what we're drinking first. I believe this drink is called Rum and Peppers. It is Dr. Pepper
Apropos of nothing.
and rum, obviously. Indeed. The rum I'm using is the Kraken rum that we used in an earlier episode's drink. I'm digging it. I always like mixed drinks, as usual. I don't really drink Dr. Pepper in general, but I will say that the Dr. Pepper mixed with the rum makes for a fairly good mixed drink combination.
Not a prune fan, I take it? Worf would be ashamed of you.
Apparently not.
Yes, but tonight, while we're drinking, we're going to be talking about episode 6 of season 2, The Spy Humongous.
Yes, let's talk about the plot of this episode. When the Cerritos arrives at Pakled planet, that's the name of the planet, to start peace negotiations, a Pakled refugee arrives on board with obvious ulterior motives. Meanwhile, Mariner, Tendi, and Rutherford clean up dangerous scientific leftovers from the senior staff after Boimler abandons them for a Redshirt makeover.
Yeah, so once again, another episode with A, B, and C plot. Or is it D plot? I don't know how you label these things. But I find it humorous
that sounds right.
That right off the bat, nobody cares about the A plot of the peace negotiations.
The Pakleds.
Yeah. Very Lower Decks.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of negotiating happening, so, like, what is there to really talk about as far as the negotiations go? It's just Freeman being stuck on the planet with Pakleds that are incompetent.
Oh, was it Freeman? I could have sworn it was Janeway. Was that not the thrust of the episode?
I was also confused.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been either one of those people.
The weird question is, how do they know about Janeway? I mean,
I was wondering the same thing.
Maybe she's an admiral by now? Maybe, oh, you know what? I bet you Tom Paris wrote a holo novel about their exploits in the Delta Quadrant.
Ooh. And they're like, wow, Janeway is strong. I bet all Starfleet women are named Janeway. Let's talk more about the Pakleds because they're hilarious. Pakled planet, of course, the name is first of all amazing. But why is the entire planet made of gold plating?
Ah, yes, I love it. It totally shows them the strength, the wealth. It's what people who are not really aware of how to project power. That's what they'll do. They'll say, "Look at me, I'm rich. I plate everything in gold."
Kind of an eyesore.
It's fantastic and beautiful.
Definitely fits what we know of the Pakleds. How do you feel about the size of your hat indicating how powerful you are in their government?
I effing love it. I just that scene. My helmet is not nearly large enough to make that decision, and then they just go through a series of more ridiculous helmet sizes. And the best scene, the revolution happens. We will no longer bow. And then, of course, he puts on the helmet, and they resolve Animal Farm in all of a couple of minutes.
Yes, that's right.
And
definitely nothing changes.
Fantastic progression.
I like the entire revolution on the Pakled planet just changes nothing about the plot whatsoever.
But the best part is, it's Pakleds. It's what you expect, right?
And it just reinforces that there's something else going on besides the Pakled. Like, someone is pulling the strings, as Wrecker would say. So there's definitely, they don't seem to be threatening enough to have, to be as threatening as they are in the show. So something else is happening, but we still don't know what. We're over halfway through the season. We don't know yet.
My vote is for Lore.
You think so?
No.
Lore's back
I don't
somehow.
think so.
Lore already was in this season, so I'm not sure how he would show up again. He's already bathtub, bathwash, whatever the hell you call it.
What was that? Was it Bubble Bath? It was Bubble Bath, right?
Bubble Bath, yes. I knew I could say those words. This rum is pretty good. Anyway, and I also wanted to mention that in orbit of the Pakled planet, there's several of these Pakled ships in orbit, and they all look exactly the same. So I was wondering if you had thoughts about this. If these are all supposed to be ships that are made up of assembled bits of other ships, and they all look exactly the same. I mean, obviously it's cheaper from production costs, but from a canon perspective, are they getting schematics that are involving, like, pieced together bits of other people's technology, and that's why they all look the same?
Or maybe they just build, like, a shell, like the entire exterior is just cardboard, and they filled it with technology. So, like, these look strong! Yes, but they have no engines or weapons. Here, hammer!
It's all for
Here,
show.
Warp core.
It's like the gold plating.
On.
I like that explanation. Like, ooh, Romulan nacelles, those look threatening. Better bolt on a piece of cardboard that looks like that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Sure, it has nothing to do with production values. It's entirely an in-universe reason they all look the same.
For sure. I was wondering if you caught when the Pakled spy is aboard the Cerritos, where he asked to see the Crimson Force Field. Do you remember that from Samaritan Snare?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that their big gambit?
Right. Where they just eject their Bazaar collectors all over the Pakled ship and makes it turn crimson. And Geordi's like, they got us with their Crimson Force Field. And yes, here we are talking about Crimson Force Field, however many years
I feel like that's a theme of the series, is whenever you're up against an enemy that you think is dumb, just lie to them, you know? Propose a game of Fizbin, turn on your Crimson Force Fields.
Yeah, makes sense, right?
No, not at all.
But the other thing I wanted to cover with, as far as the Pakleds go, is they talk about the plan to get the Verovian bomb to Earth, which I hope we're going to see more of in subsequent episodes here. But I think this is they mentioned earlier in the season on the Titan about how that starbase was attacked with the Verovian bomb. So we get some internal consistency, which is nice.
I don't know, man. They're getting a little too archy in my episodic comedy show.
You know, it's funny, if you're going to talk about that, I mean, I think it's taking a long time to get to this arc. They're definitely leaning into the episodic comedy, but it's a 10-episode season, and, you know, maybe just a handful are about Pakleds. I don't know, we'll see if, like, the second half of the season turns into
Wait, it's a 10-episode season? Shit, I only have enough booze for 9.
You're going to have to go to the store, pick up some different kinds
going
of
outside.
booze there.
I don't like to leave my hovel.
Who does, honestly? Your hovel's the place to be. But anyway, I'm wondering if they're going to lean into the Pakled stuff in the second half of the season, or is it just going to be these sporadic, occasional episodes to cover them? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters, as long as they continue to have solid storylines. Like, this could have even been a one-off that just referenced something that happened outside of the series, like they often would do in TNG. Could have been a random race that Freeman had involvements with before. It's just, you know, you don't really need the overarching story if your storylines are good. It's a little extra spice in your coffee.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's talk about the B plot, which is, I could go with either the Redshirt Club or the science trash. Let's talk about the science trash first, actually.
Are you calling science trash? Stavros, I always suspected you were anti-science. It disappoints me to see it so...
That's not true.
It disappoints me to see it so obscenely confirmed.
Well, you know what? If my science trash didn't come with any directions to the people picking up the science trash, then I'm pretty sure that the science trash is an apt descriptor for all those trashy pieces of trash.
You know, I do love the fact, though, that in this arc, absolutely, completely irresponsible in handling hazardous materials. No PPE whatsoever. Like, the crew's just leaving it lying around.
No instructions. Yep. You know, this cube that Tendi picks up, an Ataxian mood shifter cube, by the way, is the name of the thing that they barely sneak in there. Wouldn't it have been obvious to include, like, a little label, you know, or put it in the pad with the, you know, clean up instructions to not become ragey when you pick it up, otherwise you become a scorpion rage monster?
Well, I mean, does everybody become a scorpion, or is that unique to Tendi?
I don't think they go into that level of detail. But still, you think turning into any kind of monstrous monster would require some kind of warning label.
Well, I mean...
But alas.
The Rage Cube is supposed to turn your emotional armor into literal armor. So, you know, maybe whoever was using it was all like, ha ha ha, we're Starfleet. We're all well-adjusted. We don't need to worry about such ridiculous magic MacGuffins from beyond the stars.
You know, it's funny, when they're going through all of the various places, I mean, they go to some various labs on the ship, but often they're going to specific characters' rooms or quarters to pick up stuff. And it's kind of funny how they describe, like, which items are for what, because apparently Ransom has a crystal collecting habit. Did you expect that? Your boy Ransom loves to pick up strange crystals.
Who doesn't love picking up strange crystals, if you know what I mean?
I don't, but let's not dive into that anymore. But he's also the one with the frog skull that Rutherford breaks and inhales and becomes a squishy Hulk and nearly murders everyone.
From the planet where things evolved strangely. Like, what does that even mean?
Yes. That's not important to the science trash cleanup.
Yeah, well. The best question, though, is why would he have something so dangerous just sitting on his desk?
Yeah, that could apply to any of these things, though, to be honest. Like Billups, we were talking earlier, even Rutherford has bad things to say about Billups in this episode.
You know what?
For example, those nanobots, he cannot tighten the lid on the nanobot container.
You know what? Every relationship has its minor conflicts. Just because you find something somebody else does annoying doesn't mean you should abandon everything and move to Vegas with a stripper.
Oh, so sad. But yeah, some of the other stuff found in other people's quarters. The counselor, Miglimo, he has some goggles, a broken sword, and the storybook where the three little pigs come alive in Rampage.
Yeah, is that a DS9 callback? I feel like that's a DS9 callback to when the aliens came through the portal. But that was like aliens doing it, right? That made like Buck Buckeye and Rumpelstiltskin, and
it did seem like a loose reference to that episode. I
feel like it's probably popped up somewhere else, like fictional characters coming to life. I feel like that's happened somewhere else. Maybe an episode of Voyager with the water monster or whatever.
Right, the kids, the hollow characters, right? Shax apparently is the person who they take the submanifold casting stone at the end of the episode. Don't log it and instead use it to troll Armus.
Yes! Trolling Armus. Finally! Justice for Tasha Yar.
It had to happen sometime. It took 20 years of in-game time, but at least it happened.
Yes, indeed. I just find it interesting that everybody's just kind of left him alone. This crazy, supernatural entity on an alien planet. Yeah, it's dangerous, but you have, long-range communications, you have hazard suits, nobody set up a research post to learn more about this thing?
I think, don't they say in the episode, Skin of Evil, that they set up some quarantine markers or something like that?
Yeah, but I mean, come on, man, it's Starfleet. It's they're scientific explorers. You think anybody's is going to be like, nah, man, this is too dangerous for us to explore. Even Kirk and Spock ignored no trespassing signs when they were a little too interested.
That's true. You got to think how many other people the sludge monster has murdered on that planet that have come to visit him. But still, it's fun to see that little reference there. But I mean, let's talk about this submanifold casting stone for a while. I mean, how far away is Armus's planet? This is a very powerful artifact, and we've just got the Lower Deckers just completely abusing its power.
Well, not even abusing its power, but it's just lying around on this Q-tier ship that nobody cares about. I feel like this is revolutionary technology, right?
I know, right?
One-way communication? What's the distance to that? And it sounds like they could hear him too, so... I mean, maybe if somebody had said something, they would have been able to communicate with Voyager throughout those 9 seasons and been like, no, Janeway, that's a bad idea.
No, Janeway, just go to the Dominion side of the wormhole and you cut your journey by 2/3.
I feel like sending Janeway into a war zone, while cathartic, would not have ended well for the crew.
That's fair. We're going to get off track with this discussion of what Janeway should and should not have done.
Shouldn't have murdered Tuvix, but you know what? Homicide is a MO, so...
Ooh, I don't know. I don't want to touch this.
Yeah, we're going sideways. Let's get back on track here before we piss off all of the internet.
Yeah. But some of the other things that that doesn't come from any particular area, that flower that sprays Mariner with little pokey spines, that's something that they find. The Retruvian flask with the liquid that splurts on Mariner and sticks her to the ceiling. That was pretty funny. And of course Boimler knows all about these things even though he's not even on this assignment. But I think my favorite item was the screaming slug that constantly screams. It's the one character in the show that has screamed more on a higher percentage of screen time than Boimler.
Screams like a goat, apparently.
Yeah, it's a kind of a goat scream. That's funny. But it eats and then promptly poops out Tendi. Kind of a very realistic animated butt that I'm not sure I wanted to see.
Bit too far there. Yeah, definitely should have gone with a different angle there, guys.
we knew it was a butt. Did you really have to show it? It's fine. It was on a slug monster.
The real question is, why did a goop monster have a butt? It seems like, he's goop. Does he really need that much detailed anatomy?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask the animators. But yeah, definitely a lot of various bits and bobs.
Yes, and lots of bits and bobs and tentacles.
Yes, I saw those tentacles. They snuck into that scene when Boimler's talking to the red shirts and the rest of the crew is in the background.
And I love that, like the two stories overlapping. Obviously you had the tentacles and the main lower deckers going nuts at the end and breaking shit, and Rutherford just like projectile vomiting in the background. Such a great storytelling device to have the two stories constantly overlapping like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but this whole science trash subplot is a vehicle for Tendi's meltdown, which interesting to see that happen to her character. She's so happy-go-lucky most of the time, but she completely loses her mind, and then Mariner. And this is after Mariner completely losing her mind at her.
It was bound to happen, but I do love the fact that even before her breakdown happens, Rutherford and Mariner can see that they've gone a little too far and they need to be a little more supportive. Yeah. Just fantastic. That it's not all just like, oh, we're dicks until somebody says something. They realized they were being dicks a little early on there.
Yeah.
And then she goes, full scorpion person.
And the whole resolution of that, which also ties into the Boimler subplot with the red shirts, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the whole, I like how it ties back into the mood shifter nature of the cube. So I thought the resolution was great. I was like, wow, it's like, are we seeing something revealed about Tendi's character where she actually thinks the working on the Cerritos isn't as great as she, has been saying it is this entire time in the show so far? But I'm kind of glad it got resolved at the end, because it's just Tendi just like, it's a complete facade the entire show. But I mean, she's learned to moderate her expectations for what her job is.
Well, and I mean, there's a very human aspect to that sometimes we love aspects of our lives and sometimes we loathe them.
Yeah, completely. Let's move on to the C plot, the Redshirt Club plot. So Boimler is confronted by Ensign Casey, who we've seen as a background character on the bridge quite a lot so far. The Zinti character, who we mentioned in an episode or two ago, who the animators made very, very sure to show that he exists. Yeah. Jen the Andorian, and then another character who is unfortunately not named, as a short black-haired woman. All ensigns.
Yeah, another fantastic aspect of them bringing background characters to the foreground, and I was shocked that the Zinti was not just a background gag, and they used him in the foreground.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't name his species, so...
Everyone knows it's Zinti by now, come on. Maybe not if you haven't seen the animated series. Maybe it's only the hardcore fans that know.
Well, I'm betting it's most fans, because it's referenced a lot in Trek culture.
Yeah, that's true. But Redshirt Club, kind of an awkward name.
There's a lot of talk that it's a callback to Red Squad, that these guys were not the cool A-team in Starfleet Academy, and that led them when they formed their group outside of it. Well, we're not the Red Squad, but we're, the Red Shirts. I don't think so. I think it's just a callback to TOS, because they specifically make a joke about them being the up-and-comers and the people who are going to go places, as opposed to just dying.
Well, it's at least part of Star Trek culture, which is very well known, and to call them red shirts is definitely a jab at that. But of course, they're all command division people, so we have the literal red shirts thing as well. They want to get Boimler in on their team because they want Boimler's knowledge of what Riker is like on the Titan.
Yeah, and you know what? They want to get Boimler on their team, which leads to my favorite moment in this show. Immediately after an episode dealing with Mariner's abandonment issues, Boimler abandons her.
That is completely true. And Mariner doesn't even get it. She's like, oh, look, he's getting out of science trash duty. Good for him.
Well, I think it's not that she gets it. It's that, they've resolved that issue.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so she doesn't take it personally.
It's a thing, Stavros. Oh. I know you're not familiar with the medium of character-driven storytelling, but it's a thing.
You know what? And I'm glad to see it, to be honest. But yeah, that's great. But we get more of a view of what the Redshirt Club, what their view on what makes a good captain. And of course, that is doing literal improv that is like makes it feel like an improv comedy class. But it's not about making up what you think is a good command style. It's about imitating other captains.
Yeah, it's all about appearance. No substance, no decision making, just appearance. Yeah. Which leads to my favorite scene, and something we had talked about previously and speculated on, was we finally get a look at Buff Boimler. And he's not
That's right.
Titan Boimler after years or months or however long it was of being in the limelight. It's not future Boimler, who has found his true calling. It's not alternate reality Boimler, who's lived a rough and tumble life. Nope, it's Boimler
it's
in a bodysuit.
Right.
Got him some fake muscles.
You know what that reminded me of was like a kid's Halloween costume of a superhero that has like muscles like sewn into the costume. That's what it made me think of.
Well, it's actually a funny story because there is stories from TNG and Voyager. So like famously, Bellantoris is a big, tough, half Klingon. But the girl who plays her, Roxanne Dawson, is rather dainty. So they like had to pad up her uniform to make her look bigger. And there's similar stories in TNG where because they were wearing those tight-fitting jumpsuits, they would frequently have to like pad them up to make them not look like awkward, especially since they didn't tailor-make uniforms for every character. So I think this may be a little bit of a callback to that, of you have to have the right look.
Interesting.
Not sure though.
I mean, let's talk about all of the Boimler like visual improvements. I mean, the outfit we're talking about. To be honest, I mean, so how do you feel about that? I personally am not I didn't think that visual aspect was necessary for him. The clothes specifically, the uniform modifications. Even though Riker had giant pants because of definitely his legs, because he's a tall man.
Yes, that's what he was going for there. No, you know what? It doesn't really matter. It looks fine.
The outfit specifically?
It's all about...
With the muscles on there and everything?
So it's interesting that it looks fine from a distance. And all of like the distance drawings, when it's close up, it looks utterly ridiculous. With the giant shoulder pads that are obviously giant shoulder pads.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it looks fine. But it's all about visual language. What kind of story are you trying to tell? Especially in an animated medium where you have 100% control over that stuff. Right. You don't want to have your big, bad, tough guy and your serious, I know everything guy. You don't want to draw him like a squirmy, wormy, scrawny, pale-faced guy. Right. Communicates the wrong language. Sure. And that was the story they were telling with this whole exchange. The whole posture is important.
Yes. Well, see, that's the thing, right? So the other improvements they make, the visual improvements, I should say, the posture critique, which is hilarious because it's made by the Zinti, who makes the callback to the animated series, where the Zinti are like famously hunchback. It even makes the imitation of it. But I think posture is a legit critique. Like, you got to have good posture, man. It's a visual language. It's a visual language being a captain. You got to show people in your confident posture that you know what you're doing.
Yes, indeed.
And like going to the hair as well. Boimler's, he's got the kind of goofy hair that he's proud of because he thinks it's cute, but I don't know about like preemptively dyeing it the lighter color on the sides. I think that's part of the reason why we thought it was like older Boimler from the trailers. Maybe not that, but I mean, he could use maybe a hair improvement.
Yeah, well, and that, gray hair is often meant to, again, communicate in a visual language the presence of wisdom. And that's probably what they were going for.
That's true.
You can communicate in a visual language all you like, but if you can't communicate by action, it means nothing.
And speaking of action in the Redshirt Club, we get a great view of how terrible their methodology is, because when Tendi is wreaking havoc in the mess hall in Scorpion form, their solution is to step in and start just giving speeches, which inspires some of the crew, but does nothing.
Well, it starts inspiring the crew and then just confuses them, giving a great reference to the... that whole scene is a great reference to, bad leadership 101. You start with the person giving the inspiring speech, and it's actually kind of working, but this isn't a time for a speech, right? It's time for action.
Yes.
So you need to be giving instructions. Right. So nobody's doing anything. They're just standing there listening. But then the second person comes in and is giving their speech, and that speech just confuses everybody, which is a callback to bad leadership of too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And then when Boimler steps in and is all like, I've got a solution, he's chastised for it, which again is bad leadership. Where, you shouldn't be solving the problem, You're supposed to be the leader telling people what to do. And it's all like, well, there's a time for speeches and there's a time for action. And he was the person who had both the knowledge, the skill, and the connections to make the solution a reality. He should have done it. It's such a fantastic just scene that is a breakdown of bad leadership and failures thereof. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, completely. And thank goodness a lot of the Redshirt Club realizes this at the end of the episode. So even Jen, I think you mentioned she needs to be airlocked in previous episodes. Even she realized that it's bad leadership.
Jen turns good, and the whole crew, the whole Redshirt Club acknowledges. And it's one fantastic scene. The exchange between Ensign Casey, Boimler, and Ransom, where Casey focuses 100% on getting the promotion, despite not having the mindset, skills, or accomplishments to get there. And he runs up to the captain and says, hey, I want this opportunity. He doesn't know what the opportunity really is. He just wants it because it is a opportunity. It is a step up. It is, what he perceives as making it more important. And Ransom gives it to him because, okay, anybody can do this. It doesn't really matter. But Boimler, the person who's focused on actually living the Starfleet life and actually living the command life, the what will get you there, i.e. being there for your crew, having the knowledge, doing the work to get you there, he actually walks away with the accolades, which is more important than that few seconds in the command chair. And the big thing for me about that is that it kind of shows, like, this is what Starfleet is supposed to be. Boimler is showing the Starfleet values, and he takes the Starfleet action, and that's why he's going to succeed, whereas Ensign Casey is going to flounder because he is just wanting prestige and, personal gain rather than wanting to be a part of this Starfleet machine.
Yeah, and the one line that really got me was when he's watching the Lower Deckers do their thing, and he goes, "Oh, they're not working in Starfleet; they're working for Starfleet." And I was like, "Oh no, that is not the right attitude at all." And I was so I felt so vindicated when he gets assigned to clean out the airlock after sitting in the captain's chair for 2 seconds, cleaning out the airlock because, of course, as we know, the Pakled thought the airlock was a bathroom.
You think they would have machines for that? Ugh. So gross.
Well, who knows? Maybe the Cerritos isn't equipped with the little maintenance bots that we see in Discovery or whatever.
But you know what?
Somebody's got to manually do it.
To call back to an episode I hate, this is a perfect example of, Picard got ahead in his life, right? Because he made choices, and those choices were to be bold and to take action. And that's what Boimler did in this episode, and that's what got him the recognition. Whereas Ensign Casey focused entirely on the end result of, being the guy giving the speech, being the guy that looks great, and, maybe...
And being imitative.
You know what? Maybe...
That's just not the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Maybe the solution is somebody just needs to stab Ensign Casey through the heart.
You may get your wish. We do have lots of episodes left, and who knows, maybe the Pakleds could be all murdered.
It's not my wish. It's my wish for Ensign Casey.
Yes, quite a distinction there. Let's see. Well, what else do we have to cover? I think it could be my favorite part of the episode is Boimler's replicator order that finally puts Tendi over the edge to lose her scorpionness. First he just orders a bowl of beans, which is hilarious because I think at the first shot of the Lower Deckers in the mess hall, they're all just eating a giant bowl of beans.
I don't think that's what they're eating in the first shot. I was wondering.
Yeah, like some of them are white beans and some of them are brown beans, but I think they're all beans.
I feel like that was actually ice cream they were supposed to be eating.
Oh, was it ice cream?
I don't know for sure, but...
You can't tell with the animation, but I feel like...
It's just a little too smooth to be beans. There's no roundness there.
Indeed. But anyway, the order at the end, I think, was the best part, which is he gives an order of taffy, honey, shrimp, soda, corn steak, chicken nuggets, crispy lemon rock candy, chili gravy, chocolate sundae, all hot. And that's gotta be a sticky mess.
And I feel like the replicator should have some sort of buffer system to prevent that sort of
just spraying out like that
vomit from happening.
Well, you know what? It makes for a hilarious show. Who knows? Maybe Tendi's Scorpion. She's banging around stuff in there. Maybe she has kind of broken the replicator a bit. I don't even think Boimler's ready for it to just spray out like that.
I think that was his intention the whole time. I think he knew that was going to happen. That's what he was going for.
He's just going for the slapstick.
Comedy is a lot about preparation, you know?
That's right.
Yep.
One other thing I wanted to mention that was also hilarious, probably my second favorite moment in the episode, is when the Pakled spy is being shown around by Ransom. By the way, your boy Ransom and Kayshon are like buddy and equally incompetent, and immediately lose a spy that they know is for sure a spy.
Yeah, well, it goes to show that the old saying is 100% true. Always underestimate your allies and overestimate your enemies.
That's true.
I'm not sure if that's a real saying, but if it isn't, trademark right now. Aaron, 2021.
There you go. But Ransom mentions that the Cerritos has a gift shop.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't you have a gift shop on your starship? It just plays into the whole, these guys aren't out there to seek out the unknown for scientific and cultural advancement. They're just out there for entertainment value, baby.
Which is amazing. I feel like that kind of fits the MO as a diplomatic ship if they have a gift shop somewhere. I hope we see it at some point. Just like a bunch of shirts that just say USS Cerritos on them. And the hats. I definitely need one of those hats, even though I don't really wear hats.
So, that explains where the Discovery crew got their disco shirts.
Does Discovery have a gift shop as well?
I got to assume so. It's wartime. What else do you need in war but gift shop with monogram t-shirts?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I love this episode and how, every ending was just such a fantastic resolution to the exchange, and there's all this foreshadowing going on when the whole Pakled, he gets on board the ship. He's not really a refugee. He's a spy. Everybody knows he's a spy. They go through this whole exchange. He escapes them, and she's all like, oh, he's in the bathroom. Oh, he really was using the bathroom. They asked the
that was
bridge, where's the Pakled? And they're like, oh, he's not on the ship. And, oh, he's really not on the ship. It turns out they are dumber than we keep giving them credit for. It's just such a fantastic scene. And then, it comes all to the final conclusion where Freeman totally cons them into revealing their whole big secret scheme. And for a moment, you feel like there's going to be realization where what they've done. And no, they go doubly dumb.
No.
Because they had just had it revealed that it is in fact not Janeway there. And they still celebrate defeating Janeway.
They still call her Janeway, yeah. I have to give Freeman some credit there, though. It was kind of a almost surprising amount of ingenuity where she just says exactly the right thing to get the Pakleds to reveal their plan. So,
damn, dude.
Hard to argue with that.
That's some
great job.
Hardcore sideways insults you're dropping there, buddy.
Hey, you know what? If she keeps on doing well, maybe she'll get an Enterprise.
But yeah, every storyline had great resolutions like that. The plot of doing the anomaly cleanup day, it winds up being that the resolution is that, there actually could be fun. It's a choice they make.
Right.
The resolution to Boimler's plot is that, hey, these guys, they're not all knowing and all on board. I'm going to resolve the problem by doing the thing I've always been doing, which he did in the opening scene, and engaging in a little comedic endeavor. Just, it's a really well put together episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of good writing that we haven't explicitly seen in the previous episodes, like the not on board the ship and he's in the bathroom stuff. That's hilarious stuff that we haven't seen.
Definitely really good. It's one of those things that you may not pick up on a first watch, at least not all of it, because it's so densely packed in there. But you definitely will pick it up on future rewatches.
One interesting thing is especially coming from the Collector episode earlier in the season, where literally everything that's on this Collector ship is a reference, and a lot of the science trash stuff, I'm not sure we're seeing specific references. I don't think. And again, if any listeners want to correct me if there's any specific references there, but it's a lot of generic stuff like weird crystals and.
It's a lot less overbearing, the references are, and a lot less in your face.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, the show has kind of trained me to be like, oh, I'm ready to identify some references, and those come from, like, I don't think those are from anything. I'm confused. But no, it was still good. It doesn't have to be, though. This is what I'm trying to say. Not everything has to be a reference. It's fun when they are, but I'm fine with weird other sci-fi
I've said
stuff.
it a million times. When the joke is purely reference, it tends to hit less than the actual jokes that the writers are doing.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it's nice. Yeah. Not everything needs to be referenced.
Of course, all that we've talked about tonight, there was one big message of the episode that I think we really need to take a moment to address. Because it's fun to have a good, funny time and little humor and good storytelling. But in reality, what good is a story if it doesn't purvey a clear and concise message? And I think this episode did a fantastic job of doing that. And that message is clearly... slapstick better than improv.
Is that what the message was?
I'm surprised you didn't pick up on it. It was quite obvious, thank you.
Well, you know what? I guess I'll just smile and nod and say, yes, that was indeed the message of this episode. Definitely anything about command style.
Nope, that's not what it's about.
Slapstick being the best. Nope.
Yeah. Nothing about command style, being quick on your feet, learning to love the tasks, working as a team. None of that. Nope.
Nope, nothing about tentacles.
This was all about what is the best style of comedy.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I would think that your drink is running a little low.
Yeah, actually, I've poured one too many tonight, and
I see.
I think that means it's about time we called it a night.
I think so.
So for all of you listening at home, and those of you who aren't, if you guys who are listening can tell those who aren't listening, just so they know, I feel like this is important.
To listen.
You can catch us again next week for our review of episode 7. And in the interim, you can always catch us on Twitter at Lower Dorks. Or if you feel like you need something a little less entertaining, you can check out those CD bars down by the docks and wait for the sound of silence as someone tells jokes. And there you'll find a man on the stage doing his best attempt at improv with somebody who's absolutely not interested.
But is it slapstick improv?
That's not a thing.